So is your guy distant or passive or just not getting it? Stay tuned. We've got 3 simple strategies to spark his emotions, pull him closer, and finally get him to take the initiative. Wouldn't that be special? All the
Mm-hmm.
while keeping it real.
What? That sounds good. I
This
don't
is a
have to
major
pretend anything.
problem. What's that?
Yeah. I don't have to pretend anything.
No,
No faking
just
it until you make it.
just keep it real.
All right.
We're gonna wake this guy up.
All right. But is he going to be grumpy when he wakes up or is he going to be nice?
He's gonna be shocked. No,
Oh.
he'll be nice. So welcome to
Well, I
Mastering
like
Thought. We want you to soar with us. I'm Dr. Mark Waller. I've been a marriage family therapist. Coming close to 26 years.
wow, your anniversary with your
And this
profession.
is my cohort, Christina Black.
Hello.
She's a sacrocranial therapist and brings a freshness that I don't have anymore.
I bring a feminine presence. He brings a masculine presence.
That's going to be very important today, isn't it?
Yes, we'll find out all about it together.
But wait. Right now, in my practice, and this is true as we're recording this, right now in my practice, I have 3 men that are afraid to go home. They actively suppress the impulse to share anything,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to leave the area. One of them has had a job that keeps him out of town all the time.
Yeah, right.
And so we have this contrast between this woman who wants this connection and this
Mm-hmm.
man who's on the run.
Yeah.
And the question is, what in the heck is going on here?
Mm-hmm. I've totally had my husband tell me that there are times he's been afraid to come home because he's afraid of how it's going to be when he gets there. So, no judgment to anyone who is feeling like they're reading those things and going, uh-oh, like, what does this say about me?
Honestly, I hear this all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So before we talk about strategies, we have to look under the hood.
Mm-hmm. Understand what's going on.
And so this is where we're going to start looking under the hood because
Okay.
this is going to reveal a lot here.
It's a very scary car.
Yeah.
I don't want to look under that hood. Like, I feel like I wouldn't, all of me wouldn't come back. It's mostly Christina. It's Christina minus a finger, maybe an arm.
I think you may find some other folks under the hood with you there.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start with my model of relationships, the dance of the lion and the unicorn, because this is very important.
Foundational. Yeah.
And these big orange circles, is that orange on your screen?
I
It looks
think I
kind of
call it like a tangerine, but
tangerine.
I'm open to color shade uh suggestions from listeners.
Well, since I'm a man, color is kind of a vague science.
Yeah.
So you can see here that the lions on the right hand side feel rejected, like nobody cares. That makes them
Mm,
angry. The
mhm.
unicorns feel fearful and feel anxious, and they avoid. And it's a cycle that goes around and around. Now those
Mhm.
big, as we've said in many videos, those big orange circles are a part of the brain called the limbic system. So this involves fight or flight.
Yeah. Yeah. And each of these sides, like you're one of them and your partner is the other, because it's almost 100% of the time that our brain looks for someone who is wired differently than us when it comes to this, right?
Yeah, substantially
Yeah.
every couple I see fits this model.
Yeah. Okay.
And what's interesting is within the first 30 seconds, you can tell who's who.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're already intrigued and you want to read more about this model of relationships, I wrote a book called The Dance of the Lion and the Unicorn.
Yeah.
It's
That saved my
available in
marriage.
Audible. What's that?
For anyone, I said, for anyone who is interested, that saved my marriage, that book.
Great.
And I would say even better, it like saved my best friendship with my husband.
Super.
Yeah.
Well, glad to be I get calls literally or emails from all over the world.
Yeah.
People pick up that book and they go, "Oh my God, this is
Well,
exactly what's happening."
how many decades has it been out?
It's about 10 or 11 years old, I guess. I'd have to go
Okay.
look.
Okay. So you have solid decade of it just like finding its way into certain people's hands. That's cool.
It's um it's pretty timeless, the principles.
Yeah. Yeah. People are always the same.
Now, before we get to this strategy number 1, I want to add a backdrop here.
Okay.
So, in addition to the dance of the lion and the unicorn, listeners need to understand, and this is hard to imagine, if you're a woman married to a man, that behavior is being driven by emotions.
Yeah.
And if you ignore that, you're never going to understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
And so, as we saw here a minute ago, the emotion that the man is experiencing is anxiety, because we're really talking about unicorn men here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the reason they don't want to go home is they're afraid. They're literally afraid.
Right.
Which is, how tall are you, Christina?
I'm 5'8 3/4".
Okay, how tall is Brett?
He's 6'4".
Okay, so it's hard. It's got to be hard for a woman who's 5'4", 5'8", whatever, to imagine that her 6'4" husband is afraid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he is.
And he's shared that. It's more of like a fear of like what's going to happen? What is he going to find himself in? How
Right,
uncomfortable is it going to be? Can he get out? Is there any way
right,
for peace? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what they want is peace.
Yeah.
What unicorn men want is peace or calm, and they will use those words literally all the time.
Mhm.
Okay, another thing that you might want to look into is attachment style.
Totally.
Most of these unicorn men are avoidant attachment style. Now, in the classic sense, if you're avoidant, that's a type of insecure attachment. But we here on this channel don't believe that you have to be insecure in order to be avoidant.
Mhm.
So even people who have a secure attachment style tend to be on one spectrum or the other, and these unicorn men are avoidant.
Right. And it's just the way their brains are wired. It's not like a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a combination between nature and nurture.
Yeah.
So their brains are wired that way, and then whatever happens to them in childhood tends to push them even further in that direction.
Right.
Now, let's go back to this for just a second. So notice when the lion gets angry, the unicorn says, "Oh no, here we go again." And so
Mhm.
the next point to be made, that's very important if you want to understand how your man and how to draw him out, is the role of conflict.
Yeah.
Unicorn men hate conflict, and they will avoid conflict at all costs. Now, they're not avoiding you, they're avoiding the conflict.
Mhm. Okay.
And as I said before, they'll even take a job out of town to avoid conflict.
Right.
I mean, you show me a long haul trucker, I'll show you a unicorn male.
Yeah. That's funny.
And conflict fills them with fear and makes them feel completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And you'd be
Yeah.
surprised how long it takes some women lions to understand that their man is completely overwhelmed when she gets
Right.
upset.
Well, it took me a while to understand it. Not that it's like all about me. I'm just one example, but Um, I can say it took me a bit of time to realize that that was how he was wired and it wasn't personal.
Right.
And so part of our issue was that he and I both took too many things too personally, and it was not
Mm-hmm.
making space for the other to just be the creature that they are around each other.
Right. And so taking things personally is a big problem for all lions.
Yeah.
And lion women they're no exception to that. They take everything personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So for lion women, there's a trap. And the trap is taking things personally,
Mhm.
anger, being dominant, being
Mhm.
parental,
Mhm.
taking the initiative, and having too much male energy.
Mhm.
Now, we're going to talk about male and female energy here before we get to strategy number one. Now, we're
Mm.
not talking, when we talk about male energy, we're not talking about men versus women. We're talking about male energy versus female energy. We all have some of both.
Right. Absolutely.
But men, we think predominantly would have male energy, women, female energy. But when it comes to the unicorn male and the lion woman pairing, this becomes a real temptation to come in and mess up the relationship.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself in that situation?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was angry. I would dominate by like telling him what I thought was the appropriate thing for him to be doing. I don't know that I got parental, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely wouldn't give him space to take the initiative much because he
Okay.
was honestly just trying to be calm at home.
Right.
And I was so impatient with waiting for him to show up the way that my felt needs uh, were demanding, I guess, or
Uh-huh.
asking for that. I just would kind of like, as if our relationship was a ball of clay. I like tried to like manhandle it and shape it into the shape I wanted it to be for us. But at the end, it didn't really leave any space for Brett to like take responsibility or enjoy it or meet me halfway. He was honestly still just afraid that if he didn't go with my way, that it was just going to end up in a new
Right.
conflict. So he was sort of an acquiescing prisoner in some of my attempts, or we
This
would
is
just get in a different fight, you
that's
know?
so true. That is
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
If you want to interact with us more on this, Christina and I have launched an online community, and we'll talk
Hmm.
about that later. But you can come on the online community. It's called Thought Masters. We will be there, and others will be there who have learned this model of relationships,
Hmm.
men and women, and you can interact with them and discuss some of these things. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
All
Absolutely.
right. Now, let's look at this list again: anger, dominance, taking the initiative. Now, here's the trap: unicorn men perceive this as pressure and control.
Yeah.
And their response is they, like you said, Christina, they go along to get along
Hmm.
in silent anger.
Hmm.
They get very
Or fear
resentful.
still.
And so the silent
Yeah,
anger,
resentful.
and they're fearful as well, but the anger
Yeah.
turns into passive aggressive behavior.
Hmm.
And before we leave the topic, I'll never forget we were discussing this in another episode, and you used to talk about Brett going to play golf, and
Yeah.
you labeled him a lever. I,
Yeah.
I just loved
Even
that.
still, even still, while you're talking about this, I was like, oh, this reminds me about when Britt was golfing a lot.
And so what
Yeah.
passive aggressive behavior is silent punishment.
Yeah.
So this sets up this whole thing as this whole ball of wax here.
Hmm.
And so let's get to strategy number one.
Yeah.
So strategy number one is reclaiming power. And this means using feminine energy as opposed to masculine energy, which we're going to go through. Now, this doesn't mean being less of a woman or more of a man or anything like that. This is the way you express your energy in the relationship. And you'd be surprised. As a matter of fact, I had this experience last week. I was online with a couple. We were discussing their relationship. And I told this woman, I said, "You're forgetting one thing." And she said, "What's that?" I said, "You're the woman." And I said, "You have power.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reclaim your power as a woman."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the term reclaim because it's not like you're taking power that belonged to him. It's yours. It's your
Right.
power. Yeah.
So before we get into feminine energy, let's just look briefly at masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Masculine energy is the natural force of action, direction, and structure that drives progress and provides stability. It's about doing, leading, and protecting, projecting strength and purpose through decisive moves and logical focus. In couples, it's the energy that pursues, initiates, and builds, complementing the receptive flow of female energy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a woman and you have some of these masculine qualities, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be that the masculine energy that you have is is giving you an outcome that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea here is the masculine energy is action, it's direction, it's purposeful, it's decisive,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
this some of these ideas we're talking about right now comes from the work of Dr. Pat Allen, and there's Pat. She wrote a book that's, I don't know how many million copies it's sold. She was very popular more back in the 90s. The name of the book is Getting to I Do, which means getting married. And she used to do a tremendous number of workshops in LA and in Orange County, California. And some of these ideas are refined from her work, which I think was amazing. She came out with all this in the middle of the feminist thing, and it was very counter
Mm-hmm.
to that culture, but it works. She would say that when a couple first meets, the person who introduces themselves first is the man in the relationship.
Hmm.
Very, very controversial.
Well, and like very similar to uh when you're in a negotiation, the first person to speak loses.
Right?
Just sort of some things that we sort of bring light to with acting them out, I guess.
I like the way you're saying that, because if I introduce myself first, I'm taking the male position, but I'm also giving the female the power now. She's got the power.
Mm.
Once I introduce myself, she's the one who decides what happens next.
Mm.
So she's either receptive to the introduction or not.
Mm.
Okay, so feminine energy, key trait number one. What I just said, feminine energy is receptive, open, but not pursuing. And I would say this pursuing in the emotional sense.
Mm.
So it's the ability to receive love, effort, or attention, like holding space for him to step up. Think of it in terms of a warm invitation. I'm here and I'll welcome what you bring versus chasing him down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As he's got his golf clubs on his back running out the door.
Yeah.
So, an
Yeah.
example of this is smiling and saying, "I'd love to hear what you think," then waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keeping it short, making an invitation, and just pausing.
And then pausing. The pause is where the power is.
Yeah.
The pursuit, when you start pursuing, you lose power as a woman.
Well, and what's so nice about that is that, let's say you might have a harder time coming up with solutions that might be satisfying for your partner. Like, you don't have to. You can just come as you are and say something really simple that can further the conversation along. It's actually easier.
Now, listen, I understand that there's a lot of really angry people on the internet. I've encountered a few of them.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is offer a strategy for someone who has a man in their life who will not respond. We're not saying, become weak and powerless. We're actually, feminine energy is in its own way just as powerful, or if not more powerful, than male energy is.
I feel like it's graceful power.
Keep that word grace in mind. It's going to come up
Mm.
again. I love that.
Yeah, because
And
I feel
and
like
by the way,
nurturing is such a feminine like energy trait.
I gotta tell you, when I was putting some of this together, I was thinking a lot about you, Christina, because I know you're a lion, you're a woman,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
know some of these things are maybe a temptation to you to go into the male energy. But in my
Oh, sure.
interaction with you, you very much embody this feminine energy.
Thank you. I've been working on it. It's like I think anybody can say, "Oh, this was the situation that was handed to me." And like the beautiful thing about taking the hand that life dealt you is that like you're now probably you're an adult and you don't have to stay limited to the resources that were available to you as a kid,
Uh-huh.
and that it's really a new chance for you to continue to grow, like regardless of what who gave you, like who gave you what, I mean, that you can just continue to improve where you're at.
I think that makes so much sense from my point of view because what I teach couples is they have attracted this person into their lives so they can
Yeah,
learn something
totally.
about themselves.
Totally. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Feminine key trait number 2, it's feeling driven. It's emotion as fuel. It's guided by what you feel, not just what you think.
Mm.
See, I think Pat Allen would agree with this that women say what they feel, men say what they want.
Hmm.
When I counsel men and they say, you know, should I, should I ask permission or should I do this or that? I say, no, just tell her what you want.
Mhm.
And she'll tell you how she feels.
Mhm.
So it's guided by what you feel, not just what you think.
Mm.
You lean into your heart, your joy, your sadness, your longing, and express it authentically. I would love if a woman said this to me. I feel so alive when you're like this. Beats,
Mhm.
we should hang out more often.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's an example. I feel safe with you. That sparks closeness.
Mhm.
As opposed to saying, how come you're not closer?
Yeah. One's very critical.
Right, right. So,
Yeah.
key trait number 3, feminine energy is intuitive, sensing over strategizing.
By
It's
who?
that by the female.
Okay. So if she's sensing herself over strategizing,
Right. She's not in her
that's what.
head, she's in her heart.
Okay.
It's that gut knowing, reading his mood, picking up on unspoken vibes, and responding with instinct.
Oh, I get it.
Less,
You're saying it's like sensing him versus strategizing.
yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And so it's less about planning every move and more about flowing with the moment.
Mhm.
An example would be sensing he's off and gently asking, you seem quiet, everything okay?
Mhm.
And then a pause.
Mhm. The $1 million, the $1 million action. Pause.
Pause.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Number 4. Sorry, I've got my slide messed up here.
That's okay. I'm
Nurturing.
just glad I was right about nurturing.
Yeah. Well,
I'll
we
see you
all,
later, Mark.
yeah, we all want to be right. Somehow I forgot to add the cameras in here. All right.
That's
So
all right.
nurturing means connecting and building. It's the
Mm-hmm.
instinct to care and create, making him feel seen or valued without fixing him. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Without fixing him.
It's a soft strength that fosters trust and warmth. An example would be a light touch and you're good at this to lift him up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like the question is obviously like for the female coming from this angle, like one, you're already frustrated or you're concerned
Right.
because you've already had this pattern going on for a bit. Two, you might not feel like he honestly really deserves you to be the one to make the first move. You might
Right.
feel like he's owed it to you, you know? Can you go
Right.
back actually to the last slide? Because there was one thing it pulled up for me. Um, yeah, just the without fixing him. Okay, you can go forward now, but it's like if someone comes to you with something that they like different from you and they treat you like you've been broken and that's why you couldn't do it, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think that if you were really to think about it, is it really that you want him fixed or you just want him close? And if the
Exactly.
answer is you want him close, then try to get really in touch with that being your core motive rather than
Exactly.
like something more petty because that's just sad and it's honestly going to put more hurdles in between you getting what you want and not. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just like we've all cleaned up messes that didn't belong to us, this is a great time, especially since you're the one who wants to be closer to make the first move.
I love everything you just said.
Aw, thanks.
All right.
Brett loved everything I said after you gave me these lessons. So,
All right. So here we are um, back at your comment about grace.
mm,
Key trait number 5, fluid and graceful, ease over force. It moves like water, adaptable, smooth, powerful in its quiet way.
mm,
It's grace in your voice, your walk, your patience, not rigid or pushy. An example would be laughing off a small awkward moment instead of forcing it smooth.
mm-hmm.
So how does this slide relate to what you were saying about grace earlier?
Oh, I like the you put it moves like water because it is true. It seems like I don't know. The way I almost kind of think about it, if you can imagine like a more I'm making a metaphor, but if you can imagine like masculine or male energy making more of like a structure and that the feminine or female energy kind of makes a little bit more of like the tone of
Uh-huh.
what it's like. So I don't know. It's almost like a nice when done right, male energy is a lovely vase. And that when done right, the stuff that feminine strength adds to it is like the contents in the vase that I don't know, maybe keep the flowers alive. I don't know, maybe it's not a good analogy, but it's like it's more forceful than air. It really does seem to pick up things in its current when used well and over the long term and um yeah, not rigid or pushy. Anyway, go ahead.
Well,
That's what was in my head.
I think all women understand during dating and courtship how to use their feminine energy, but the frustration of what happens in a close, committed relationship gradually erodes that,
Mm.
and they forget that they still have that ability and that they have real power as a result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so if you like the clever metaphors that Christina is using today, please like and describe. And is it still true that for every subscriber, you're going to give Sunny, your dog, a doggy treat?
Oh, it is true. Yeah, she gets hooked up all the time by you guys. So thank you. Sunny, thank. In fact, she's like right here, right now, because she's probably like, I
Oh,
hear Mark. Do I get my treat? Do I get my treat, Mom? So,
okay.
like and subscribe, send to a friend, and Sunny gets some treats out of the deal.
Okay. All right, strategy number 2. And if you're really angry and resentful, this is going to be hard, but we've got to break the cycle somehow. Warm
Somewhere,
him up with
somebody.
respect and appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of men
Mm-hmm.
in my practice in 25 years that have told me they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel like anybody in the family cares what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
These men still, even in this modern era that we live in, many of them get up at 4:30 in the morning. They work 10 or 11-hour days, very physical, and they
Mm-hmm.
come home absolutely exhausted. And they're unicorn men, and the whole way home, the alarm's going off. What am I going to face when I walk through that door?
Totally.
And their
Yeah.
partner is waiting to connect with them emotionally and is upset because they're anticipating they won't do it. So, but this is strategy number 2. Warm him up with respect and appreciation. Respect validates the doer, makes him feel like he's valued, like he's worth something, and that fuels the drive to engage.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. This this
Appreciation, go ahead. Go ahead.
this simple thing alone can bring a man out of his shell.
I think so.
Just that alone,
Right.
Something like so simple, like, thank you for going to work today.
Yeah.
It's really amazing what you doing that every day does for our family. Like something so simple like that, even if you're not in a good mood, like you can admit that those things are true, you know? Yeah.
Appreciation equals reassurance, which nurtures acceptance and reinforces connection.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, you're
So,
not broken. You bring something to us that makes us better. I'm
right.
so glad you're here.
Yeah, as opposed to, getting up and by 9 o'clock in the morning, you've already been criticized for 3 things you've done wrong.
Yeah. In your own house when you're just trying to be.
I had a couple the other day and I was explaining some of this, and um, the woman looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, you mean I'm partially responsible for the problems in the relationship?" I was like, "Yeah,
Sorry to
maybe."
say. Maybe. That's such a great question for yourself.
Yeah.
Grab a mirror, look deeply.
All right, strategy number 3. And I can't emphasize this. This is probably the most important one.
Oh, for sure.
Personal
Oh,
growth.
emotional mastery too. Yes.
Cultivate self-awareness, emotional mastery, and work on having perspective instead of perception.
Mhm. Mhm.
Your perception comes from a narrow point of view rooted in your emotional brain, where perspective automatically puts you in the other person's shoes
Mm.
and you can see things from their point of view.
Yeah. The emotional mastery one, that one's so big too. If
Right.
you're if you're not going to bring what you're going to bring in a way that doesn't or in a way that challenges their feeling of safety, you're probably not going to get as far in the conversation as you want.
And I would strongly urge you to watch some of the other videos on this
Yeah.
channel about how to do the thought watching and awaken your
Yeah.
own self-awareness.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm hesitant to recommend therapy because if you go out and find a therapist, find one who's happily married and understands men. But if they're angry, lonely themselves
Mm.
and resentful and they still hate their first husband, this is
Hmm.
probably not going to encourage you to
Yeah.
get into your feminine energy and heal your relationship.
Yeah. Sure. Which, by the way, I mean, I can't say this as a blanket rule, but I would imagine for most women, tapping more into your feminine energy would be a relief because it's more
Yeah.
natural.
Yes.
Whereas, like, your anger is what's causing you to like force more masculinity, and I mean that very narrowly, just in the way that we described on this video, that masculine energy.
You're touching into my next slide here. For a woman lion, for everybody
Ah.
actually, it's essential to resolve childhood issues of rejection, taking things
Mhm.
personally, blaming,
Mhm.
and lack of
Mhm.
accountability.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
is that? It's right exactly what you were saying a minute ago, Christina.
Mm.
Defensiveness cancels feminine energy.
Mhm.
In other
Okay.
words, it's like you have disarmed by getting angry and frustrated and not handling your own personal issues and your unfinished business that you brought with you to this relationship. You're basically disarming yourself because feminine energy is one of the real resources you have that attracted this man into your life to begin with. And if you want to
Mhm.
pull him out of the doldrums, you know, and
Yeah, he's
so
still in there somewhere, most likely.
yeah, I was trying to get back to my original. If you want to pull him out of the doldrums, there he is.
Yeah. Who, me?
But I'm telling you, men will they will respond to this. Even the most introverted, unicorn, passive, because believe it or not, they're struggling with their own personal issues that they don't understand.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, most of this is unconscious.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People people don't understand what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And if they feel attacked, they're not going to go explore it either.
Hey, that was a crazy minefield. Let me just go back in and explore.
Yeah. So the
I want to
purpose of
make
a
sure I know where every bomb is. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
landmines.
Yeah, for sure.
The purpose of a relationship is to make you conscious, not happy.
Yeah. I love that you say that. I feel like that needs to be like written all over the
So if you
world.
want to if you want to explore how to awaken to your own self-awareness and deal with these things, Christina and I would invite you to join our online community. Right
Mhm.
now, we're recruiting founders. We
Mhm.
want a core group of people that can help us massage this into a dynamic social experience for people who join.
Yeah.
And the people who join right now as founders are going to get a 50% discount and for life if I can figure out how the software works to do that. And there
Well,
will
and
be
we're going
a
to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a very nice way, comfortable way to learn this info in the bite sizes that you want, and that's pretty cool.
well, and I find I don't know if, and I'm sure you agree with this. People can watch these videos
Yeah.
and they get a flavor of it, but really you have to kind of bear down for a little bit and interact with this material, and then you start having these aha moments.
It's so true. It's just like any discussion had in a class after reading something, or like a book club after reading a book. It's like hear the contents of this info, and totally, you can totally make it your own and start applying it. But there's just something, there's some beautiful hack with the human brain that when you enter conversations with others about this
Right.
topic, you're just going to pull so much more out of it. You're going to see way more impact on what's happening from your actions.
And on the community, you'll find people who are just starting with this stuff.
Yeah.
You'll find people who've had a breakthrough and they're trying to kind of master it. And these are real breakthroughs. I mean, this is not self-help stuff. This is an aha
Yeah.
moment. It's shocking, you know, perspective shifting stuff. And then there are going to be people on the community who have mastered this for some time and are there to help you work your way
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. And this isn't like a new test like theory for you. You've been doing this for 20 something years. Like
Right.
you've led thousands of people to an
That's
awakening for their own
that's
mind,
correct.
which is essentially a rewiring of your brain to allow you to use more of it. So anyway, yeah.
Great.
Join us.
So
We'd love to
so
have
those
you.
we would love to have you. And you'll
Scan
meet
that
other
QR
people that'll.
code and tell Mark.
By the way, the QR code there, if you want to contact us, you can do it through a form. The QR code takes you to a form. If you're interested in contacting us via email, there'll be an email address in the description below and a link to explore the online community. And those are the three strategies for, waking the sleeping giant.
Okay, so let's run through them again. It was, what's number
Oh,
one?
okay. Number
Reclaim your
one
energy,
was
reclaiming your
reclaiming your
power.
feminine power.
Okay, number two,
Number two.
respect.
War-
Yeah, respect and appreciation. Okay.
right.
And then number
And
three was becoming more self-aware, personal growth. Yeah, becoming more self-aware, mastering your emotions, and working on having perspective versus just your perception.
exactly.
Yeah. And this I was thinking about perception today and yesterday, and I was thinking that a nice way to say it is if you and your partner are both sharing your perceptions and they don't make space for the other person's, then it's probably too narrow to be helpful to you. Versus like they don't get it, you don't get it. Like if you can just take your perception and widen it so that it's perspective, like it can honestly be that simple. You don't have to throw yours out just to understand them.
The question I get all of the time is, don't both people in a relationship have to work and make these changes? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
If you make
It's
these
wonderful when
changes,
it works out.
that's
However,
that's ideal.
yeah,
But this dance of the lion and the unicorn is a system, and any
right.
change to the system changes the whole system. So you can do this all by yourself.
Absolutely. You don't have to wait for your partner to get on board for you to make
That's correct.
improvements. Everybody can win.
All right,
I'll say
Christina.
too, I'll say this other thing too. So, um I guess maybe sometime we'll have to do an episode about how to calm down your lion woman or something like that. But when you were working with Brett about this stuff, and he had never really done housework really much as
Uh
like a
huh.
habit. And just one day he came home and like out of nowhere, he started unloading the dishwasher. And I was just like, did someone break into my house and like drop off this like dream boat? But watching my husband make some steps to improve our system was very motivating to me personally. And I
Interesting.
really wanted to then go, oh, well, if he's doing that, what can I do?
Right.
And, I think that's the beauty of someone just being the first one to start, and lions I would guess that lions tend to be a little quicker to like action in some ways, maybe like
Uh
the
huh.
stepping out action. And so don't be like hurt if your unicorn needs 4, 5, 6, 7 times of you doing this habit before he really starts to react, because he's honestly probably just trying to figure out what's this new space that you're creating and is it safe. And so he's going to be timid and probably check around like, why are you saying these nice things? What are you doing? Like, why are you treating me with respect suddenly? And then eventually he'll see it's just because you love him.
On the
So,
other hand, I've seen many, many times when the lion woman stops the emotional pursuit, the man will freak out.
oh, like with relief?
No, like what's going on? Where is she? What's
Oh, does
happening?
she not love me anymore?
That's right, and he's right there. All of
Aw,
a sudden,
yeah.
what's
Everything okay?
happening? Where
You're
you
not
been
going to
all
leave me, right?
afternoon?
That's funny. Okay, well, that's good to know. Any other fun things for lion women to know about their unicorn men?
I think we
Little
pretty
fun
much
facts?
exposed it. Oh, one
Okay.
more thing, as long as you
Yeah.
brought that up, is
Okay.
because they're conflict avoidant. They will lie about things they don't need to lie about just to avoid
Uh,
conflict.
okay. Okay.
So
Got it.
if you say where were you this afternoon, they might have been sitting in the field staring at the sun, but they'll lie about it because they're afraid if they tell you the truth that you're going to yell at them.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always mean they've done something troubling or you know
Right. Right.
they don't want to get it. They don't want an ordeal. If you make conversation an ordeal, he won't talk to you anymore.
Oh. If you make conversation an ordeal, he won't talk to you anymore. Okay. Wow. Whew.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does make sense, but I really like to make conversations ordeals.
If you are listening to this and have some ideas of topics you'd like us to cover, please make a comment below
Ooh,
because we
that's
want to be
fun.
as responsive as we can.
Yeah,
And that's it for now.
love it. Well, everyone have a good week. I guess you don't have to wait for Friday because we have tons of videos for you to watch, but we'll come out with a new one this Friday.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.